Hello and welcome back to my channel at What Anna Reads. Today I'm going to do a slightly different video. I'm actually going to be reviewing two social media platforms, one being Goodreads and the other one being Litsy, just to see how they work. I personally use both of them. I'll put my information down below if you wish to follow. Let's get on with the video.
Okay guys, so this is what your apps look like. So there's Goodreads and there's Litsy. For those of you who don't know much about Litsy, it has been described as if Goodreads and Instagram had a love child. This is apparently what it would look like. So I'm going to open it up for you. So this is pretty similar to what your feed will look like. Obviously I've opened it on my profile because I don't want to be giving away anyone's usernames on there that don't want to be found. So you have your profile here and your username, What Anna Reads, and then you have your currently reading list here, which I quite like. And your followers, how many you're following, and your litfluence. So I am just going to scroll down my feed just so you can see. So the thing is with Litsy is everything's got to be assigned. If you notice at the top here, everything's got to be assigned to a book, which can be challenging, but it does keep the app on focus. But you can still get around it by doing little things like this and just tagging in an appropriate title like I've done here, something about friendships. And further on I'm hosting a readathon this Saturday, which I've just tagged the book readathon in as well. So also on Litsy you have your reading list. So you only have what you've read, which is here, and the ratings you've given them if you've given them a rating, and what you want to read, which is all there. Now everyone can see what you're reading and what you want to read. There's no hidden bookshelves or anything like that on Litsy. I like it because it's quite simple, it's quite straightforward. I also like Goodreads, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Probably some of the cons to Litsy is, I don't know if you can see some of my reviews, but when you go to review, you press your little button there and it goes from a pick, a so-so, a pan, a bail or a pan. You don't really have any categories for ones that you've really loved, that are your absolute favourites, or ones that, you didn't like at all. There doesn't seem to be a lot of leeway on there. Also, unlike Goodreads, you can't update page by page. On the plus side, whenever you click on a book, what you're reading, for example, it'll show you what others have thought about the book as well, especially if they've reviewed it. And you can also block out any spoilers, so you don't get spoiled as easy on Litsy. So there are some cons to it as well. The thing is, you are only limited to, I think, 500 characters. 450 to 500 characters, that seems to ring a bell, on your review. So that can sometimes mean that you can't really do the extensive you would like to. But also I find sometimes when I'm looking for a book, I only want a quick review. I don't want someone, especially if I haven't read it yet, sometimes I only want a quick review of someone saying, yes, this is what I liked, that's what I liked. I don't really want an in-depth review if I'm deciding to read something necessarily, because sometimes it gives away too much of the story, not necessarily major spoilers, but just gives away too much of the story, and then I might as well have not bothered to read it. So it is quite useful for that, just keeping your review short and snappy. So Goodreads. This is how your Goodreads page opens up. And it shows you all what your friends are doing and what are you doing as well. Again, I find this works better. It doesn't work as well in an app, I don't think, because Goodreads is quite a detailed interface, shall we say, and it's quite adaptable. You can do a lot of things with it. But what I do like is you've got your currently reading slots like on Litsy, but you can actually update and put what page you're on. So, for example, and put a comment so all your followers know. And put done. And it will show you what percentage you're on, also show your fans how you're enjoying the book. What I like about that is, okay, so it might be repetitive. You're not having to post the same picture over and over and over again. You're just literally updating where you are. Okay, and then you've also got your lists. So I haven't used this for quite a while, as you can probably tell. So you've got your reading list, which is what you've read, or your reader list, sorry, should I say. Again, similar to Litsy, you've got all your stars there. You've got a star ratification option on Goodreads, which is a pro compared to Litsy's con of just having, okay, like pick, bail, pan, so, which I find a lot easier. You can also have a to read shelf. So these are all the books I want to read. Not necessarily now, but maybe sometime in the future. And you can also, like this for an example, last year I started doing to be read shelves on Goodreads so that I could keep track of what I'd read out of that month and keep my goals up. The other thing you can do is you can scan a book. Example, so you can scan a book and it will find it, and it will also tell you if you've already read it or not. So that's quite handy if you're out and about shopping, I suppose, and you've come across a book and you're not sure if you've read it or not. If you've let me just go back. If you've got the ability to scan it, then it will tell you straight away. The other thing you can do is you can search for a book, so you can search for author, title, or both. So for example, if I search for an author, and it has a bigger database, I've found, of books compared to Litsy. However, Litsy, I have had books added to Litsy that have not been on there, particularly new releases, such as these two. These two weren't on there when I first started Litsy, and they have since added A Bond and Venom and Magic under my recommendation to Litsy, and they're in the process of adding A Bond of Blood and Fire to Litsy. However, Goodreads already had them up and running. I didn't need to do anything with them. I don't know what their process is for picking up new books, whether it just goes on the authors that are registered on there or whether they go on Amazon or pull from a specific database or not. I don't know what the process is there, but it's quite useful knowing that you're going to go on there and you're going to have everything you need. So let's cancel that. Now, if you go on the More tab, you can have your recommendations. So people can make recommendations to you. Again, people can do this on Litsy. They can tag you and say, oh, I think you'd really enjoy this book. But these are recommendations based on either what people have sent you or what you've put in your to be read list. And you can change the genre as well. So like contemporary, for example. And fantasy. Again, some of them will cross over. And if you really want to spend time, I think you can change whether you want them in your recommendations or not. I don't tend to use the recommendations very often, purely because I tend to go out and find my own or work on books that have been recommended to me by people personally, rather than a computer. That's not to say that it's not a bad thing to do. It's just saying that that's how I prefer to pick up my reads. Okay, the other thing is you have your yearly challenge, which some of you may be familiar of. So in 2017 my goal is to read 50 books, and it will tell you percentage of how many books you're there for. On the desktop app, I think it also tells you how many books you're behind by, and it also has your friends challenges on there as well. You can also explore. So you've got your Listopia, you've got your different genres that you can explore books if you're looking for something new. Popular books, so they have the highest rated this week, new releases this year, new releases this month, recent reviews, and then groups. So what I find with the groups is, this is the Perusotopia Book Club, which is run by a Book Utopia and Peruse Project. So Reagan and Sasha from YouTube run that one. But what I find sometimes with forums is it's sometimes very difficult to get involved in a conversation, especially if it's something that people have already made their mark in and there's some big personalities and they contribute regularly and so on and so forth. Also, sometimes some of the topics you can get involved in don't really necessarily spark up a conversation. So like if someone's added you to a currently reading group, I usually find people tend to just post what they're currently reading on there. The other thing is they will list events near you, bookish events, which is quite good because there aren't many near me. There are a lot in America. There aren't many big book cons of the scale that America has them in the UK. I think there's one in London. There has recently been the Edinburgh Book Fest, but again, it's not to the same scale. Let's go back. So, Litsy, you have got, it's quite succinct, it's quite easy to use, it's simple, you haven't got multiple bookshelves that you can create, because if you're anything like me, my bookshelves tend to have subcategories, and then those subcategories tend to have subcategories, and then it all gets a bit messy. Whereas this is simple, what have you read, what do you want to read, and it doesn't rely on you needing to update your social media regularly, whereas Goodreads does lend you to that, especially when you can update page by page. Cons to Litsy, you end up with short reviews. When you post, you have to attach it to a book. But there's a way around that. It doesn't have to be a book you're reading, it doesn't have to be a book on your to be read list. You can just type in the subject of what you're putting something up for you. Goodreads, however, it is more in depth. You can choose different forums to be a part of, and they often host many different book challenges, which can be quite interesting, especially if you're someone who has a massive TBR pile, TBR pile, which, as I say, most of us do.
So that was my video on Litsy versus Goodreads. I really hope you enjoyed watching it. If you do, like, comment and subscribe. Let me know what you think to either of the apps down below and if you use them, and let me know your username and I'll give you a follow or a like or a friend request. Alright, thank you for watching. See you again soon. Bye!